What we have right now is probably the most powerful character that we've had in Diablo so far. Perhaps unsurprisingly, since that we now have access to the Malignant Hearts in Season 1. But there's a particular combo of the Barber Heart with Berserk Ripping, which was only now available to us. It got disabled at the end of Season 0, and now they re-enabled it now in Season 1. You add those two things combined with Gushing Wounds, and you basically use the Barber to create a massive chunk of damage that is then a portion of that is applied as a bleed. And since that application of damage is a crit, you can scale it with the Gushing Wounds crit. So it's absurd damage. And it works great with Double Swing, but I would imagine that Ripping, Barber, Gushing combo would work with just about any skill in the game. But we are putting it to very good use with Double Swing, because Double Swing pumps a very intense amount of single target damage, but then explodes in an AoE of bleed. It is awesome. And how we're going about that is, let me show you. So, this guide will be up on Mobalytics in kind of like a, a layout mode, like a one-page layout mode, but we can show you also where my character's at in terms of how far along we are with that build. So, this helmet has the right stuff on it. It could just be better rolled. Cooldown reduction, total armor, max life, and damage while berserking are things that I all think are great on a helmet. The damage while berserking is kind of a flex choice, but CDR, total armor percent, max life, I think that's excellent to have on your helmet. And I currently have my Disobedience on the helmet. Another way that you could go if you wanted to be even stronger defensively is you could put Disobedience on your necklace, and then you could put like basic attack. It gives you damage reduction on the helmet. That might be a way that I go eventually, but right now we're still kind of tuned for a little bit of offense because I'm using Ancient's Oath unique, which means I need some other offensive stuff on my character. But again, I could shift Edge Masters to this and no longer have crowd control duration, but I think I like that. Anyway, let's just go down the line. Damage reduction is okay, but I would love to have like life, total armor, challenging shout, and then some sort of damage reduction on the chest. I think life is really fun to have on your chest. That's one place I can get it. Russet Box, big flex for the 9 months. Your other option is to just go ahead and stack defensive stuff like challenging shout, total armor, and then 2 different types of damage reduction, like fortified, close, just straight damage reduction. That's fine on the chest too. And then you can try to get life on your rings, because you may not actually need resource generation for this build. I think it still feels good, but you may not actually need it. On your gloves, you want attack speed, crit. I have all stats, which is great. You could also do like percent physical damage, but you want ranks of your main attack, crit, and attack speed at least. And then I have Berserk Ripping on my gloves. Again, you could move Ripping to your two-hander if you wanted an even bigger Ripping dot. Not even a bad idea. I haven't tested that yet, but I'm sure it's fine. But right now, I just have it on gloves. For pants, oh yeah, and I guess I should mention, I have Iron Skin, makes you unstoppable, and gives a damage reduction on the chest. I like to have that on the pants, but it just didn't happen that way. It's just whatever. It doesn't make a difference, I just like it better that way. But anyway, for pants, again, life, total armor, and then damage reduction sources are fantastic. And I have the Numbing Wrath, where points of fury over your cap give you Fortify. That's great. For boots, these are awesome. Fury cost reduction, movement speed, berserk and duration, fortified generation. I love those 4 affixes, so having them on my boots is great. I do prefer the boot implicit, where giving like an attacking gives you cooldown reduction on your hop. It just feels really good in combat for that, so we don't have it, but I like it. And I am using the weapon mastery. Skills have additional charge and a chance to stun. Great for our build. I removed a lot of the lucky hit stuns out of this build, so now having sort of on-demand builds with ground stomp and this are nice, although we do have the knockdown heart on there too, so we'll keep that in mind. For my weapon, we have a very nice combo of vuln damage, crit damage, core skill damage, and damage to close. Those are 4 fantastic affixes for your weapons. I love that. And I do have giga attack speed on my weapon, two-handed, giving you that super fast attack speed. If I wanted to use Ripping on a two-hander, I'd just have to just not use Ancient's Oath, basically. So that's what we're doing right now. This is the one aspect that I think I could probably move somewhere else, is the smiting one. 20% crit chance against low health enemies is okay. The main thing I like is that you gain more crowd control duration, and double swing is really nice when obs are CC'd. You attack them, you get more rage back than you use to do the attack. It feels really smooth. But this is something where we can change it up to move Edge Masters down here to allow me to have Disobedience on the neck, and then have the basic attack CV damage reduction on the helmet if I wanted to be more defensive. And that's this character. That like 3-piece Triforce of damage carries your damage so hard that I probably don't need to be like stacking more damage in order to push higher keystones, or Nightmare Tears. I need to basically have more defense. But anyway, this weapon's nice. It has Vuln, Close. I'd like to have Core. Strength is okay, but I'd rather have like all stats. This is a nice place to get all stats on your weapon, I feel like. Just because you get a nice little chunk. But Vuln, crit damage, Core, all stats would probably be ideal for me, I think. The same thing with this one. This has Core, crit, damage, Close, and Vuln, which is fine. I'd like to have all stats. It makes my Paragons work a little bit more comfortably, but whatever. You'll notice I have the green gems in the weapons. I have the blue gems in the armor. Extra fortified damage reduction is great. Extra crit damage while you have vulnerable on the target is great. And then I have the Earthquake on the ground stomp, which is insane damage. So this build allows you to just ground stomp and then just pull things in to the ground stomp damage increase. It's awesome. Yep, closer core is good. Yep. For this build, I am using Steel Grasp, which is the chains. And you don't need to use this weapon, but it makes it so much fun to use it. It's actually not bad either. Damage is slowed. The enemies are slowed after you grip them because of this, right? They are slowed by a certain percent for 3 seconds. It's just part of the build, so they do get slowed, and you annihilate them. It's a big vulnerable damage roll. It's big damage while berserking, and it's a bunch of ranks of Steel Grasp. And instead of firing 3 chains, you fire 5 chains. So it grips like the whole screen. It is so cool. Not required for the build, but it is awesome. For the rings, you gotta have crit chance on your rings. Your rings and your gloves are like, and then your skills are like where you get crit, basically. So you need to get crit on your rings. I still think resource generation is cool, but I think an ideal ring would maybe just be like crit damage, vulnerability, and then things like life, damage to close, or resource generation, like just something like that you need. Are great on rings, but you need crit damage, vuln, I think. I don't have all that, but it works for now. Fortified generation on a ring is like not optimal, but this ring has just sort of stood the test of time for me, so I'm still using it. But we could definitely replace this. I have Bold Chieftains on there still. I'm only using 1 shout, but it's still worth having a short cooldown on it because it is challenging shout. I have the Devious Heart of knocking enemies down when I have a high attack speed, which is like all the time. So remember, enemies that are knocked down, you get the rage refund from double swing on that, which is very, very nice. This ring is crit, chance, damage to close, damage while berserking, crit strike damage. So it has 2 things that I want. Maybe 3 if you count close. Berserking isn't bad, it's just not really what I want. But I do have, I gain 5 fury per second while berserking, which is nearly like all the time. So it's consistent rage income, which is, kind of smooth and nice. And that does get affected by the resource generation a little bit, which is good. And you have resource generation from your ring, 1 ring, and I have it from the Berserk talent too, which I'll show you in a second. This one I'm using every 5 seconds while with 60% life. Your core skills cost life and make them do more damage. You could do the crit one, where you have a guaranteed crit. You could do the one where you do more crit damage if you wanted to. This one just feels safe to me. That's fine. And then we have a really nice necklace. 3 ranks of Cut to the Bone, which is more damage with bleed against vulnerable targets, which is awesome. That has a nice cooldown reduction. Cooldown reduction is mandatory, and I would say defensive skills are mandatory on your necklace. Everything else is kind of whatever. Fury cost reduction is like... It's really nice to have it, because you can only get Fury cost reduction on your necklace and your boots. But yesterday I rolled over a max rolled armor percent roll, and I'm still kind of like not sure I should have done that. But either way, it's nice. It has cooldown reduction, fury cost reduction, all defensive skills, and making your bleeds hit harder, which is crazy. And this is where I have my Edge Masters currently, where when you have high rage, you deal more damage. And if I was going to change out the aspect on this, I would probably put Limitless Rage, where overcapping your rage gives you more damage, because you're overcapping your rage nearly constantly. So... that's pretty cool. All right, so, and then of course we have the Barber Heart, one of the essential ingredients to making all this work. Critical strikes get absorbed, like you crit something, You trigger a period of time where all your damage is absorbed. At the end of that period of time, it explodes, and it does more damage. And then with Berserk Ripping, and this is the second part of the essentials, it applies a big bleed based off that explosion. So it's pretty cool. I tend to prefer a shorter activation time on my Barber's Heart. This one's 2.9. It's like kind of right in the middle. It's okay. But a bigger, like a longer time allows you to stack the bleed higher though too. So against like a big boss fight, it probably is better to have a longer period of stacking that damage. But anyway, we are using the two-handed axe expertise for more vuln damage, which is nice. And then in terms of our, let's go over the skills first because it doesn't take quite as long. So skills, I'm using lunging strike, activating berserking. You could also use battle. You could also use frenzy for attack speed. You could also use frenzy for damage reduction. I think all those are fine. This doesn't really matter too much. You probably even play Flay for a bigger bleed if you wanted to, because bleed is such a big deal. Maybe even against bosses you would. But I still like just lunging around. It's just movement, just quality of life. It feels good. I'm putting full points in double swing, and I'm still using the berserk refresh on double swing. It feels pretty good. I do like it. But if you wanted to, you could use vulnerable if you wanted to really manage your berserk just with chains, basically. Or you wanted to use one of the aspects that refreshes your berserk, you could do that too. But I just think this feels good, and I vuln things pretty consistently with chains. It works out fine. 1 point in stomp all the way up to here to tactical ground stomp for 40 fury. Of course, the +3 defensive skills does give us, you know, ranks to all of these skills, which is awesome. We get Iron Skin. We're going for the healing on Iron Skin. We're going Challenging Shout. We're going for Fury Gain on Challenging Shout. And again, we have ranks of it on our chest and ranks of it on our necklace, so it's a pretty good damage reduction at rank 8. We are only using one shout, but I still am putting points into Booming Voice. I want that to shout last a long time, and I don't mind it healing me a little bit per second while I got it active. We've got full points in Aggressive Resistance, so that when we're enraged, or Berserk, I call it enraged. I call Fury Rage, and I call Berserk enraged constantly. It's just never gonna stop taking place. But anyway, damage reduction, and then Fury Generation while Berserk. I'm going for the close damage, distant damage reduction. I am going for the increased crit strike against stunned enemies, or slowed enemies, because things are slowed and stunned quite a bit when you're attacking, and crit chance is great. I'm not going for exposed vulnerability right now because it just doesn't really add much to it. But we do have a billion ranks of chains, right? We go for the grip, we go for the berserk grip. These are cut to the bone right here. I told you guys this about from my amulet. Your bleeding effects deal more damage to vulnerable enemies. Very, very cool. We've got 3 points in duelist for attack speed with one-handed weapons. Everything we do is one-handed with double swing. I've got wallop. We actually need to take this out though, because I'm trolling by having this, because it is only bludgeoning weapons, and right now I'm using double swords, so we need to take that out and put that somewhere else. And I think where I could put that is we could put like 1 point here for my bleeding effects, slow healthy enemies, just so that we always have like a slow initially. And we could put 2 points in here for fortified generation. We could put points in like damage with damage reduction against elites, or we could come down here and just put it into damage reduction while fortified, and I think I'm going to lean towards that. We need to get this build right now does so much damage. It actually is important to be tankier, so 1 point here may be troll, but you know, we can benefit from the damage that's slowed from our axe, and that's fine, just a little bit. But we have Tempered Fury, where we have 1 point there just to get to heal for, you know, percentage of your health every fury spent, 9%. And then we come down here. I've used Unconstrained before. I've even used Unbridled Rage before. This build pops off with Gushing Wounds. The reason why is because this allows your bleeds to crit, and I believe that every pop that you get from Barber is a crit. So if I understand correctly, it means that bleed will also crit, which makes it scale more than even usual off your critical strike damage bonus. So it creates insane bleeds. And I think, I'm not sure, I think that Barber then recalculates that ripping bleed and adds it to its next Barber pop. So you can see, like, Rob got like 1 billion damage on Lilith, and I've just killed bosses with like a 65 million tick at the end, so there's like some crazy ripping interaction going on here too that we've seen like of how ripping works in the past, but that's what I'm doing with my skills right now. Paragons look like this. Starting off here with the basic one, I go for Ire for damage while berserking. It's easy to get the strength here. You get 60% damage while berserking, which is cool. My next node is the Warbringer, or next board is the Warbringer board, and I do have Exploit in this one. I may eventually move these around because I feel like they're not getting the maximum juice out of their current positioning. But that's just what I'm going for. We're going for Raw Power. We're going for Guarded Advance for damage while fortified, and I like the Fortified generation around it. We definitely like Warbringer. That's another big source of Fortify for us. Every 75 Fury you spend, you gain 12% of your max life is Fury. Or sorry, Fortify. Very, very good. Scales with max life, gives you tons of Fortify. I did grab the Fire Resistance and max life because those fire mobs hurt, and max life is nice. I can even probably grab that max life. I am getting a max Fury because I like the Fury on kill. That's the main thing. This might not be super necessary, but it's just smooth. Like, you just path to it naturally. You could path to it instead of max Fury, Fury on kill. You could just path to max Fury and max life. And you could go at Warbringer this way. And maybe I'll do that eventually, but I think this is kind of a nice little node to grab too, so. You get max life regardless, one way or the other, right? This just comes with fire resistance. So the next board I'm on is the Carnage board. And we come over here, grab the glyph. Disembowel is an insane glyph. You really, really want this one. Most everything is bleeding, especially with the ripping. And so killing a bleeding enemy has a 10% chance to reduce the cooldowns of your non-ultimate active cooldowns by 1 second. Every ability that we use is a non-ultimate ability, so they all get cooldowns reduced. But again, it's not the most willpower available, but we can always get more of it. But physical damage over time is a big source of damage for us, but it's not like ultra high priority, but it is good. So this glyph is insane. You want that. I do go down here to grab the berserking damage and berserking duration. Go over here for the same thing, berserking damage and damage to elites, which is fun. And then we grab Carnage because while berserking, critical strikes increase your attack speed. I love attack speed, so we grab that too. And then we come over here. So far, we've gone this way into the Decimator tree to grab Demolish, which is vulnerable damage, and Arrogance, which is damage reduction from vulnerable enemies. You'll notice that neither of these are actually like double activated, but they're still nice. And I have Wrath here for critical strike damage, and skills that critically strike generate Fury. It's nice. This board does very, very well with something like Ambidextrous, where you're buffing the bonus to all magic nodes, so you're getting a ton of extra vulnerable and a ton of extra stats to help you fully benefit from these. So that's pretty important. But right now we're just kind of rocking with the critical strike damage because it's good. I do want to find my way down to vulnerable damage and armor, though, before I go to the next board, which I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. But that's where I'm at right now. I will say, again, this build is mostly requiring defense to continue to scale into higher difficulty Nightmare Dungeons, because our damage is just so out of this world. So we may eventually tune our Paragon tree into more defense, but I think right now what I've got going right now is good. So next Paragon board would probably be some kind of defensive thing. Then we could move Wrath down into the next board and use Ambidextrous, or we could start doing things like Territorial and things like Undaunted to have even more damage reduction, which would be cool too. We'll see. We'll see what we need to do. But either way, that's what we've got going on right now with our gear, our stats, our skills, and our Paragon. Hopefully, you guys give this build a try, because it is insane. What we're going to do for the rest of the day is run some dungeons, get some levels, and keep working on this Paragon and showing off what this build is capable of, because it is nutty. It is nutty. And yeah, we don't do the treadmill during the daytime. That's only during the evening, so welcome to the day stream. What's up? Let's go get some dungeons going, because this build has been slamming. Like, we've been farming like 60s. That's like usually a pretty good number. This is Stormbane's Wrath, which is annoying, but we'll do it. We'll do it. Should be fine. But no, we usually wake up and do the gym stream, and then we come over here and chill, and then we do our cardio in the evening time. How long are we normally on the treadmill during the night streams? Like the full 3.5 hours or so, something like that. Make the same rotation damage with Hoda instead of double swing? Maybe. Maybe. If you had to, what would I replace challenging shout with? Why would I have to? Why would I do that? Yeah. Why would we be doing that? Here we go. Barber triggers once damage equals total mob health. I've noticed that. I've noticed that. I'm glad that that's actually how it works. I feel like that's how it works. Yeah, you're usually on there the whole time. Oh no. Banshees. Gotta get warmed up, man. That's cool. I feel like it did that, but I wasn't sure. Oh no, Banshees. Alright, so we're taking a little bit less damage while fortified, which is great because we need the damage reduction. And we're not even getting anything out of Wallop. Well, we could, if we wanted to do more damage, and just go do cut to the bone. But again, I think I'd rather take less damage. Because these mobs are scary. Gotta warm up with the gameplay a little bit, boys. The guy's kind of slowly walking on us. I shouldn't say that too loud because he's gonna start really heating up. Let's move though. Butcher's Cleaver worth using in this build? I don't think so. I'm trying to think why you would. Maybe just, you know, if you have low crit chance, like early on in your leveling, maybe you'd have a better chance to crit against low health enemies. But I don't think so. Unless for some reason, like, fearing mobs makes it work with double swing. But even then, like, you want to kind of group everything up, and fearing mobs usually makes them run away. I think Butcher's Cleaver is probably sick for like a Creeping Death build though, like a Creeping Death Ren build. Probably really good for that, and probably just good for PvP in general. Just due to the fact that it, you know, CCs enemies. But I don't think they made any changes to Cleaver, did they? I don't think so. Maybe you do want a nice long duration Barber then, because anything that doesn't die in 4 hits is going to take a gigantic bleed hit. But anyway, I just feel like a shorter Barber arming time feels good. I do have a very long arm time Barber that we can try at some point. Ideally, I can grip things into my stomp, and then they just die from that. But these mob types are kind of the most annoying ones of all. The Banshees and stuff. You don't know if the damage from working to the taunting? It would not be. So the power of Challenging Shout isn't the taunt. The power of Challenging Shout is the defensive bonus that you get. You get massive damage reduction and also the health bonus, and you get Fury, which basically can turn into Fortify for you, overcapping your Fury. So yeah, no, it's definitely the best shout. If you're gonna use one shout, it should be Challenging Shout, without a doubt. That's because you don't really, like, resource generation is good, but it's not so good. There's other places that you can get it with this build. You don't really need resource generation that bad, just due to the way that double swing works. Yeah, you absolutely want Challenging Shout though. 100%, 100%. Big defensive benefit for you. The grip and rip, baby. Although taunt does count as a CC against enemies, by the way, so you do benefit from damage to CC targets when you have them taunted, which is kind of neat. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but it is the case. Big pump. Alright, get all this stuff and get out of here. And scoot! But the build feels like super smooth to play, but it's still, in my opinion, still like engaging, you know? Alright, dude. Just looking at my Paragon for a second, man. You're never safe out here, dude. You're never safe. Did they bump into each other so they couldn't get through the little doorway there? But yeah, real short cooldowns as a result of Disembowel. And we have a good amount of cooldown reduction on our gear anyway, but that's not often enough. Oops. want to have all those little resets so you can just keep spamming your stuff and just keep battling. And things should be bleeding pretty consistently, so should have plenty of things that are, I mean, like if you're, as long as you're rage, like for Berserk, every attack should bleed people. So everything is getting disemboweled. To be fair, everything that's higher health is also technically, you know, damaged, you know, while healthy, so then they get slowed and you benefit from the damage against slowed targets from your Ancient's Oath if you decide to use that, which again, you don't have to. Shoosh. But it is nice. Oh, I might be just dead. It did fear me out of there, but I had already used my CC break. Is he defensive? Splat him up. There we go. Okay. So who else wants a piece of this? Yeah, you see the bleed? Like if they don't die to the actual hit, that bleed is just gonna take them down, which is great. It's like a best of both worlds with like Rend, like a normal bleed build, because you have more upfront damage than a normal bleed build might have, but then you also have like the finishing power of a bleed build. Like, you know, if they get hit by you, they're dead, basically, right? Then you have this like super grouping tool for you know, making use of what is a sort of small AoE with double swing and then the Barber explosion, but you're definitely making the most out of it, which is nice. Just huge number of explosions on these mobs. Don't kill me though. Still a little squish. Little squish. What's better, 60 strength or 25 to close? It's hard to tell. I feel like the strength is going to be scaling the base damage, right? But the close is going to be, you know, you're going to hit, everything's going to hit by, you know, or everything you hit is close, basically, right? So, hard to tell. The strength is also armor, which is kind of nice. So that adds up too. Right, and your strength does increase your skill damage, which is a bit more of like a base value. So you want to make sure you have a little bit of both, right? You want to have some base value, you want to have some scaling too. I'm not mad about strength on items, on like weapons and stuff. Not mad about it. I'm not sure, truthfully. That was cool. It looked like they got gripped from like I got through the chain out front, even though I was targeting that way. The chain still flew out that other way though. That was funny. And I would definitely imagine it's like plus. It'll probably work the same way as like almost a core, I would imagine. Maybe. Ow. Gotta hit so hard, man. Bleed, yes, bleed. Explode them. This big guy is annoying, but we're getting it done. I think we're all full on loot though too. Did we kill everything? All right, yeah, let's go get this boss. Yeah, just run around and rip and rip. It's pretty good. It's a very fun build. Feels awesome, especially like when you get in gigantic fights. This thing is gonna be annoying. Let's see if we can get a nice big bleed stack on this thing without dying to the Stormbane's Wrath. Yeah, that's like a 7 million. Nothing too crazy, but got it done. Nice. Yeah, Dwayne is definitely annoying in this environment. Could just go down for the willpower. We need willpower. We do. I think I am very interested in this particular talent. Vuln damage and armor. We definitely are to the point where we can start absolutely making use of defensive stuff. That's a lot of loot. We'll come back for it. That bleed is only from Berserk Ripping, correct. Pretty insane, huh? It's a big pop. But it's a sweet build. It's probably the strongest one that we've played in Diablo so far. And it's definitely really fun too. I am digging it. Plenty more gameplay with this build coming up. I think I've kind of settled on one a little bit. Hopefully we can make some gear upgrades, but I don't think I'm going to be playing with the talents too much. I probably will end up playing with the Paragons a bit. But the actual like ability points right now I think are pretty good. Pretty well locked in. Once we start using like a one-handed mace, we probably go back to Wallop though.